Welcome to Speak English with me.
Improve your vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation with our engaging lessons.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Speak English with me. I'm Sam.
And I'm Emma. Thanks for spending some time with us today. We have a fun topic because we're talking about one of those tiny English expressions that native speakers use all the time without even thinking about it.
The expression is not really. It's only 2 words, but they can mean much more than a simple no.
I remember hearing it everywhere when I first started paying attention to everyday conversations. Friends used it, people in TV shows used it, even someone ordering coffee would say it.
And if you're learning English, you've probably wondered, why didn't they just say no?
That's a great question because sometimes no sounds stronger than the speaker wants. Not really feels softer and more conversational.
Let's start with a simple example. Someone asks me, Sam, do you like spicy food? I could answer no, or I could answer not really.
Both answers are correct, but they don't create the same feeling. No closes the question very quickly. Not really leaves a little room for conversation.
The other person might ask, have you ever tried Mexican food? Or what's your favorite kind of food instead? That's one reason native speakers love this expression. It sounds friendly rather than abrupt. Here's another example. Do you watch horror movies?
Not really.
Does that mean you've never watched one?
Not at all. Maybe I've watched a few with friends. Maybe one was really good. But horror isn't the type of movie I normally choose.
That's an important idea. Not really often tells us something isn't a regular part of your life, instead of saying it never happens.
Let me ask you something. Do you enjoy getting up early?
Not really.
I knew you were going to say that.
I don't dislike mornings. Once I'm awake, I'm usually in a good mood. The difficult part is convincing myself to leave my warm bed.
I think a lot of listeners understand that feeling.
What about you?
I'm very similar. I always imagine I'll become one of those people who jumps out of bed full of energy.
Has it happened yet?
Not really.
I appreciate the honesty.
Every night I tell myself, tomorrow morning will be different. Then my alarm rings and suddenly that extra 10 minutes of sleep feels very important.
That's another natural use. Nobody listening thinks you hate mornings. They simply understand you're not an enthusiastic early riser.
Life is full of answers like that. Things aren't always yes or no.
Let's try another question. Emma, do you enjoy shopping?
Not really.
Why not?
If I need something, I'll buy it. But spending hours walking around a shopping mall isn't my idea of a relaxing afternoon.
I'm almost the opposite with bookstores. I can spend a long time looking at books without noticing the clock. Clothing stores, though,
Let me guess.
not really.
I had a feeling.
After 20 minutes, I'm usually ready to leave. My friends sometimes laugh because they can compare 10 different jackets while I'm wondering if the first one was perfectly fine.
That's another thing listeners should notice. When Sam says not really, it doesn't sound dramatic. He's simply describing his preference.
That's why this expression is so useful. It helps you sound honest without sounding too direct.
Here's one more example. Someone asks, have you been to Canada? Maybe your plane landed there for a few hours before another flight.
In that situation, saying yes feels a little misleading because you didn't really experience the country.
But saying no doesn't feel right either.
So many native speakers would naturally answer, not really.
If you remember one idea from today's conversation, let it be this. Not really often lives somewhere between yes and no. It gives a softer, more natural answer, and you'll hear it in everyday English again and again.
I agree. Imagine a coworker asks, do you drink coffee? If the answer is not really, they're usually saying they don't drink it very often. Maybe they'll have a cup once in a while, but it's definitely not part of their daily routine.
Compare these 2 replies. No, I don't drink coffee. Not really. The second one sounds more relaxed. It doesn't feel as final, and it gives the conversation room to continue.
The other person might even ask, so what do you usually drink? That's how real conversations grow. One small answer leads to another question.
Let's play through a few situations. Emma, do you enjoy long flights?
Not really.
Is it because you're afraid of flying?
No, not at all. I actually enjoy looking out the window when the plane takes off. I just don't enjoy sitting in the same seat for 10 hours. By the end of the trip, I'm ready to stand up and stretch my legs.
I know that feeling. The first hour feels exciting. The second hour is still fine. Then suddenly you're checking the map every 20 minutes, hoping you've almost arrived.
And somehow those last 90 minutes always feel like the longest part of the journey.
Here's another one. Emma, are you good at remembering people's birthdays?
Not really.
I appreciate your honesty.
I wish I were better at it. I remember faces, conversations, and funny moments much easier than dates. If I don't write birthdays in my calendar, there's a good chance I'll forget them.
That's reassuring because I thought I was the only one.
You're definitely not.
Sometimes a friend says, "You forgot my birthday." Then I feel terrible because it wasn't intentional.
That's another reason not really works so well. It sounds honest without making your answer feel harsh.
Let's talk about sports. Do you follow football?
Not really.
Does that mean you've never watched a match?
No, if my family is watching an important game, I'll sit with them. I enjoy the excitement, especially when everyone starts cheering. But I don't know the players, I don't follow the league, and I don't check the scores every week.
That's a perfect example. You aren't saying I hate football, you're simply saying it isn't one of your interests.
Here's a question for you. Do you enjoy cooking complicated meals?
Not really. I like food that tastes good, but I also like recipes that don't leave my kitchen looking like a disaster afterward.
So you're choosing convenience.
Every time. If I see a recipe with 30 ingredients, I start wondering whether ordering dinner would be easier.
I think many listeners are smiling because they've had that same thought.
Here's something useful for everyone listening. If someone asks you a question and you're somewhere between yes and no, try using not really. For example, do you like crowded places? Not really. Do you stay up late every night? Not really. Do you enjoy rainy weather? Not really.
Notice how those answers sound natural because they leave room for exceptions. Maybe you enjoy a concert with friends, even though you usually avoid crowds. Maybe you stay up late on weekends, but not during the week.
That's why not really often feels more realistic than a simple no.
We rarely live at the extremes. Most of us have habits that change depending on the day, our mood, or the situation.
And native speakers reflect that in the way they talk. Here's one last example before we move on. Imagine someone asks, "Are you a morning person?" Instead of giving a long explanation, you can smile and say, "Not really." If they're interested, they'll probably ask another question. What time do you usually wake up? Do you work late? What helps you get started in the morning?
That's the beauty of natural conversation. You don't have to explain everything immediately. Sometimes 2 small words are enough to express your idea and the rest of the conversation develops naturally.
As you keep listening to English, you'll start noticing that not really isn't just an answer. It's a friendly way of sharing your opinion while inviting the conversation to continue.
So far, we've mostly used not really as a soft way to say no, but there's another meaning that native speakers use all the time, and this one can be a little surprising.
This is where things become more interesting because sometimes not really doesn't mean no at all. It means your idea is close, but isn't completely right. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone asks me, "Are you nervous about speaking English now?" I might answer, "Not really."
That doesn't necessarily mean you're 100% confident.
Right. Maybe I still get nervous before giving a presentation or talking to someone I admire, but compared with a few years ago, I'm much more comfortable.
So your answer is somewhere in the middle. You're quietly correcting the other person's assumption without rejecting it.
Here's another situation. A friend looks at me after work and says, "You look tired." I answer, "Not really. I'm just thinking about a few things."
That's a wonderful example because you're correcting the impression without sounding defensive.
If I simply said no, it could sound short.
Or even a little annoyed.
But not really feels calmer.
Let me try one. Someone asks me, "Are you angry?" I'd probably say, "Not really, I'm just disappointed."
There's a big emotional difference there.
There is. Anger and disappointment aren't the same feeling, and not really gives me a gentle way to explain that, aren't they?
I think that's why this phrase appears so often in conversations between friends and family. People aren't always rejecting what the other person says, sometimes they're just adjusting it a little.
Let's imagine another conversation. Emma, did you enjoy the movie? Not really.
That sounds different from the earlier examples.
It does, because now I'm talking about my experience rather than correcting an assumption. Maybe the movie had beautiful photography and the actors did a great job, but the story didn't keep my attention.
So your opinion isn't completely negative.
That's right. If I hated every minute of it, I'd probably say something much stronger.
I had a similar experience with a book recently. Everyone told me it was amazing. I bought it with high expectations, made a cup of tea, sat on my favorite chair, and started reading.
And?
Not really.
That's all you're going to say?
Let me explain before everyone thinks I threw the book across the room. The writing was beautiful. Some chapters were fascinating, but I never felt excited to pick it up again the next day.
That's such a natural use of the phrase, because you're saying your experience didn't quite match everyone's expectations.
Have you ever had that happen with a restaurant?
Oh, definitely. A friend once said, "This place has the best pizza you'll ever eat." So naturally, I became very excited.
High expectations can be dangerous.
They really can. The pizza was good. I'd happily eat there again. But was it the best pizza of my life? Not really.
That's a perfect example because you're not saying it was bad.
Not at all. It just didn't live up to the description I heard.
Here's something listeners should notice. Native speakers often use "not really" because life isn't filled with dramatic opinions.
That's true. Social media sometimes makes it seem like everything is either incredible or terrible.
But real conversations are usually a little more balanced.
Someone asks, "Was the concert amazing?" You might answer, "Not really. It was fun, but the sound wasn't very good."
Or someone says, "Was your vacation perfect?" You smile and reply, "Not really. We had a great time, but it rained almost every afternoon."
Those answers sound honest because they include both the positive and the negative.
Here's a question for you. Have you ever changed your opinion about something after giving it another chance?
More than once. When I was younger, I thought museums were boring. Then I visited one while traveling with a friend who loved history. She pointed out little details I would never have noticed on my own, and suddenly the whole experience became much more interesting.
So if someone had asked you years ago, "Do you like museums?" your answer would have been different.
Very different. Today, if someone asks whether I visit museums every chance I get, I'd probably say not really, but I enjoy them much more than I used to.
That's another reminder that "not really" often reflects change, uncertainty, or mixed feelings. It doesn't lock you into a simple yes or no.
And that's one reason native speakers rely on it so often. It gives them space to be honest without pretending that every opinion is completely certain or completely fixed.
We've talked about using "not really" as a soft no, and we've also seen how it can correct someone's assumption. Now let's look at another reason native speakers love this expression. It helps you disagree without creating unnecessary tension.
I think that's one of the biggest differences between textbook English and everyday English. Textbooks often teach very direct answers, but real conversations are usually a little softer because people care about the other person's feelings.
Imagine your friend says, "This is the best cafe in the city." You take a sip of your coffee and reply, "Not really."
That doesn't sound rude by itself. It simply tells your friend that your opinion is different.
Of course, your tone matters.
It matters a lot. If you smile and say, "Not really, I know another place that I like even more," it feels friendly. You're sharing an opinion, not starting an argument.
That's something many English learners don't realize. Native speakers often disagree in a gentle way because they want the conversation to stay comfortable.
Here's another example. A coworker says, "This project was easy." I might answer, "Not really. I think everyone worked pretty hard to finish it on time."
That's a great response because you're not attacking the other person's opinion, you're simply adding another perspective.
And that's what conversations are supposed to be. Two people sharing different experiences.
Let me ask you something. If someone told you that reading books is old-fashioned because everyone watches videos now, what would you say?
I'd probably smile and say, "Not really."
Then what?
I'd explain that books and videos do different things. Sometimes I want to watch a documentary. Other times I want to sit quietly with a novel for an hour. One hasn't replaced the other.
I like that answer because you disagree without making the other person feel embarrassed.
Here's another situation that happens all the time. Someone says, "You're always so calm."
What would you say?
Not really.
Why?
Because people usually see us during our best moments. They don't see us when we're worried, tired, or having a difficult day. Nobody is calm every single minute of their life.
That's so true. People often think they know someone completely based on a few conversations.
And not really becomes a gentle way to say, there's a little more to the story.
I had something similar happen recently. A friend said, "You must love speaking in front of large groups."
Let me guess.
I smiled and said, "Not really."
Even after all this time?
Even now, I still feel those little butterflies before I begin. The difference is that I've learned how to continue even when I'm nervous.
I think that's encouraging for listeners because confidence doesn't always mean fear disappears.
Sometimes confidence simply means you don't let fear stop you.
That's a lesson that applies to learning English too.
Definitely. People often ask, do fluent speakers make mistakes?
And the answer is not really if they mean never.
That's an interesting use because you're correcting the idea behind the question. Fluent speakers forget words, they choose the wrong expression, they change a sentence halfway through, they laugh at themselves and keep talking.
The goal isn't perfection. The goal is communication.
Let's compare a few expressions because learners often ask about them. Suppose someone asks, "Did you enjoy the meeting?" You could answer, "No." That's very direct.
Or you could say, not really. That feels softer.
Then there's another expression, "not exactly."
I like that one because it's often used when something is close to the truth but isn't completely accurate.
For example, someone says, "So you're a doctor?" You reply, "Not exactly. I'm a medical researcher."
Then we have not quite.
That usually suggests someone is almost correct. Imagine someone points at 6 o'clock on a clock and asks, "Is it 7?" You could smile and say, "Not quite. It's only 6."
So while these expressions are similar, they aren't interchangeable every single time.
That's why listening to real conversations is so valuable. You begin to notice the little differences naturally instead of memorizing dozens of grammar rules. Before we finish this part, here's one final example. Someone asks, "Are you the same person you were 5 years ago?"
I'd answer, not really.
Why?
Because life changes us. We learn from mistakes, we meet new people, we discover interests we never expected to have. Hopefully, we're all growing, little by little.
I love that answer because it's about much more than English. It's about being human.
And maybe that's why not really is such a useful expression. It gives us space for honesty. It reminds us that life isn't always simple and our experiences don't always fit neatly into yes or no.
We've covered quite a few different situations today, and I hope one thing is becoming clear. Not really isn't just another way to say no. It's a phrase that helps your English sound more natural because it reflects how people actually think and speak.
That's right. Real conversations are rarely made up of simple yes or no answers. We have mixed feelings. We change our minds. We agree with part of what someone says, but not all of it. Not really gives us a comfortable way to express those ideas.
Before we finish, let's do a little practice together. We'll ask each other some everyday questions, and after each answer, we'll explain why not really works.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
Do you enjoy exercising at 6 o'clock in the morning?
Not really.
Why?
Because I like exercising, but not that early. If you asked me to go for a walk in the evening, I'd probably say yes, so my answer isn't about exercise, it's about the time.
Great. Here's another one. Do you enjoy cooking for a large group of people?
Not really.
Too stressful?
A little. I enjoy cooking for family or a couple of close friends, but when 10 people are waiting for dinner, I start worrying that something will go wrong.
I understand that feeling. My turn. Do you enjoy shopping during big holiday sales?
Not really.
Because of the crowds?
Mostly. Everyone seems to be in a hurry, people are carrying huge bags, and finding a parking space feels like winning a competition.
I think a lot of listeners can relate to that. Your turn again. Do you enjoy watching television every evening?
Not really.
Why not?
Some evenings I watch a documentary or a football match, but many nights I'd rather read, listen to music, or simply go for a walk. Television isn't part of my daily routine.
Notice how none of these answers sound negative. They're simply honest.
That's an important point. Not really isn't unfriendly. In many situations, it actually sounds warmer than a direct no.
Let's try a few quick examples. Do you eat a lot of fast food?
Not really.
Do you enjoy rainy days?
Not really.
Do you spend hours on social media?
Not really.
Every one of those answers leaves room for more conversation.
Someone might ask, so what do you usually eat? Or what kind of weather do you prefer? That's how natural conversations continue.
Before we say goodbye, let's have a quick word tour and review some useful expressions from today's episode.
Our first expression is not really. Use it for a soft no, to express mixed feelings, or to gently correct someone's idea.
Next is it depends. This is another useful answer when the situation changes. For example, do you enjoy working from home? It depends.
Then we have I'm not sure. Use this when you honestly don't have an answer yet.
Another great expression is once in a while, which means occasionally. I drink coffee once in a while.
We also used part of my daily routine. For example, reading is part of my daily routine, or watching television isn't part of my daily routine.
And finally, mixed feelings. If you have mixed feelings about something, you like some parts of it, but not others.
That's a very natural expression, and native speakers use it often.
Before we finish, here's a little challenge for everyone listening. Over the next few days, pay attention to movies, TV shows, podcasts, or YouTube videos in English. Every time you hear someone say not really, pause for a moment and ask yourself why they chose those words instead of simply saying no.
I think you'll be surprised by how often you'll hear it. Once you start noticing it, you'll realize it's everywhere.
Then try using it yourself. The next time someone asks if you like something, don't automatically answer yes or no. If your opinion is somewhere in the middle, try saying not really and see how the conversation develops.
That's one of the best ways to make new English expressions feel natural. Use them in real life instead of only remembering them from a vocabulary list.
We hope today's conversation has helped you understand not only what not really means, but also how native speakers use it in everyday situations.
Thanks for spending this time with us. We always enjoy these conversations, and we hope they help you feel more comfortable and more confident every time you speak English.
Take care of yourselves, keep listening, keep speaking, and remember that every conversation is another step forward.
We'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.